Good morning, everybody. Let's talk about what a startup really is and why you might think that you're not a startup because the definitions don't add up. So, where is my face? Hello. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Today, I want to touch on why you might still be a startup, even though you believe that you are not, because you've made it past a certain revenue point. If you are familiar with Noam Wasserman, this guy, this guy. So he made a book and it's called The Founder's Dilemmas, right? And basically, he's a Harvard researcher. He researched thousands of founders over the period of 10 years. And he found that it's not about the revenue that your startup is making, it's about whether or not you're in the middle of every decision, which is usually the case. It is the reason why founders lose their companies to a board of directors very soon because they're not able to let go of control. So then he talks about the king versus rich mentality. So you can be a king in your company, and that means you're gonna make lesser money than is possible, or you can be a rich guy or girl and make more money. However, that would mean that you have to let go of control, right? So like I said, he interviewed thousands of founders for 10 years and he found a few things. He basically found that a lot of people don't think they're startups, right? Because they think they're making a certain revenue amount. So 5 million, 8 million, whatever it may be for you. You've got like a dozen staff. So people are depending on you. You've got an office, a leadership team, systems that mostly work, but you are still the design architecture as the founder, which is the problem, right? That's what makes you a startup and not an institution or not at least a CEO. And it remains in that founder category. Your roles overlap, or sorry, not your roles as well as your team's roles are undefined or overlapping. Hiring has no consistent system, neither does firing. And you have no plan for what happens if you step back, which is the biggest tell that you are running a startup. Now, a startup is any organization still running on the founder's personal judgment instead of an installed structure. So it's not about the revenue, it's not even about the headcount, which is a lot of what people think. Like, I have a team, so I'm not a founder anymore. I'm not just a founder anymore, I'm a CEO. It's like you're not just a CEO anymore because you can, if you took your idea to an investor and they looked at it and they had a board of directors, they would probably kick you out because you are still letting decisions pass through you. And that's the biggest tell. And this is why a lot of founder companies lose their companies by the third round of um what's the word? Funding, right? So by the third round of funding, they lose their companies because they're not able to let go of that control, that king mentality, which prevents them from rich. So if you're trying to get rich and not be a king of your company, this is for you, right? I'm still learning how to use this. Okay, so bear with me, guys. All right. So this is the trade-off that most entrepreneurs make, as I said, right? So obviously the failure is right here. So you have little control of a company and your financial gains are also little. The king is usually when you have complete control, which is most founders, right? Like most founders have complete control of what happens or what doesn't. And they're unable to let go of that control because they don't trust their team or themselves to deal with hardship or to deal with any type of uncertainty and things that they might not know, right? So that's like where the self-trust comes in, where the trust in systems, right? Sometimes, so my mentor always tells me, don't trust in yourself, trust in systems. And it really comes in handy when you don't have trust in yourself for a situation that you've never had to trust yourself. And so you trust a system that works, which is what most people would recommend you do. When you're close to potential and you have little control, that's when you're in the rich category. And the exception is complete control and close to potential, which I don't really think I've seen anybody. Um, for more. Oh my God, how do I? There it is. Okay. So, king has structure for control, rich has structure for growth. The king believes in their process, the rich believes in possibilities. This is the visionary coming in, right? The king says, if we're not capable, we'll lose ourselves. The rich says, if we're not capable, we'll lose our opportunities or our chance, right? The king says, my team should come from my immediate circle. The rich says, I don't really care. It should be the best people, even if I don't really know them, right? This is obviously discretion, it's nuanced because you can't just hire the best people. You have to know if they are able to work within the departments together and if there's a seamless nature. Because if you are building a company of silos, you're going to regret that. And it's going to be bad for everybody because when you are creating a silo company where all departments are different and nobody knows what anybody else is doing except exactly what they're doing. So if you've ever called up Optus or any type of customer service agency and they're like, okay, I'll pass you off to this department. As a consumer, you get really irritated because you're like, I don't care which department you're gonna send me to. I need my problem solved, right? But silo companies, which is a lot of companies, which a lot of corporate organizations tend to become like that, they are falling off as we go into this new generation of AI and whatnot. They're falling off because people want to know where they fit in the organization and why what they do is important for the vision where the founder sets the vision, right? And so if you want to be in the rich category, silos are really going to kill you. Kings usually have silos, right? That's when they find that the interdepartmental communication is very down. People hate each other. Teams don't like each other. Teams don't know how to work with each other. All of these things come under the silos or the king because the king of the company is so afraid to let go of control. And they don't understand that that control is actually holding them back. And if you're going to go for another round of funding, you're probably going to lose your company if you don't work on that control. So, um, interestingly, so the rich understands that they are a leading cog in the wheel, still a cog in the wheel. This is important to understand because when you are a king, you think you are the only one who understands everything. And probably it's true because you haven't been able to structure that vision for your team. And that's why you think your team is the problem, when actually it's the lack of vision and the lack of structure. Because you're great at implementation, you're great at go, go, go. You're not so great with the vision, holding the vision for your team, showing them how they fit into that vision. And that's why you are the king and not the rich. The ideal pace for a king is usually slow and steady. So you can see this a lot in Gen X, right? Very slow and steady. Gen Z tends to be fast and explosive, and obviously that comes with its own issues. Like these are not right or wrong. This is just what you choose, right? Because fast and explosive have their own issues, right? How do you control for that? How do you control for bad co-founders? How do you control for bad teams because you are fast and explosive? All of this stuff still comes in. So even if you're a king or you're rich, you need systems in your business because that's the way you're going to scale and become a CEO and stop being a founder. This is what happened with Leila Hormozi, right? She had to let go of a lot of control. And she even talked about this in many of her videos where she says, to become a CEO, you have to like let go of a lot of things. You have to trust your team. You have to really focus on the culture build, which is the most important thing. The money will come. You know this. But the culture and the team culture, especially, obviously, very important. And you can say you have certain values. A lot of people say they have values. However, when it comes to benchmarking those values or measuring it up against your competition, you don't come close because you have not found a way to benchmark, I don't know, freedom, let's say. That's your value, right? Like, how do you benchmark that? Where do you even start? What does that even mean, freedom? Maybe for you it means, or for your team it means, hey, right now I'm in sales and I want to go into marketing, right? Because I can sell, but I feel like it's a harder sell for me because I'm not in marketing. Let's say. Let's say a marketing guy wants to come into sales because they're like, look, I'm tired of like doing all this marketing stuff. I want to do it sales. That could be an idea of freedom, right? Like that interdepartmental love or whatever you want to call it, not love, flexibility could be what you think it means to be free. Whatever that is for you, how do you benchmark it is very important for your team to understand where they're headed. This is how to also increase retention with your team. Because as you are getting rich, let's say you're fast and explosive, if your team is not exploding with you, it's going to be very hard to maintain that momentum. And business is momentum. So, king again, maximize control, moderate value. Rich is moderate control and maximized value. My personal experience with this is when I was leading a non-for-profit organization. Uh, and I was really operating in King. I gotta be honest. I was really operating in King. Um, I started to go into Rich when I was leaving, which was a very interesting experience because I had to really let go of control and trust my team. And that led my team and myself to feel like, so you see the leading cog in the wheel, I really felt like that. Because that meant that, hey, I'm holding the vision for now, which in an Islamic organization, you can't be a president for too long. I was a president for 3 to 4 years. They were gonna do it again, but I was having my second baby, so they couldn't put me in again. But the point of the leading cog in the wheel is that the business doesn't die with you. You know what I mean? When you are the only one who gets you, the business dies with you. If you die today, your business would cease to exist. There is no legacy. So part of legacy building, funnily enough, is not the king, it's actually the rich. Because you build your team up, right? Your team remembers you. Like if acquisition.com was to go bust today, let's say, or like if any of them died, we would know who acquisition.com belongs to and who built that culture. And we would remember all the things they used to say, Layla and Alex Hormozy, right? That's because of the way they've built it. They've consistently positioned themselves as the leading cog in the wheel. And they've done this really well because they sold, I think, 3 or 4 of their companies, right? So if they were the king, they would not sell their companies, right? They would not move forward. They would be stuck in that gym launch or whatever they were doing. You gotta learn to be a leading cog in the wheel. This is how you make hella money. This is how you have a team who makes money for you while you're sleeping or while you're on vacation. A lot of founders that I've spoken to are not able to even relax during vacation because they are the king of their companies and they're not being the rich version of themselves. And also, they don't even think they're a startup. So that's the first issue, right? What is a startup? The startup is anyone or any company who relies on the founder. If the founder was about to die or gonna die or died today, the company would probably slowly over a few weeks to months dissolve. That's what a startup is. A startup is not always pre-seed, seed one, series A, series B. It's not always like that. You can be a founder who has millions of racks and still be a startup. It's not because of the size of your team or the size of your revenue, it's the size of your control, quite literally. If you are controlling every outcome every time, you're not only going to run out of capacity and be overwhelmed and like hate your business, which is a lot of founders that hate their businesses. You're also going to not make the money that you came here to make and not have the impact that you came here to make. And so to change from king to rich, it's something that I would help you with, right? So you would need to work on your structure. This is the most important part because if you want this business to survive after you die, after you sell it, after whatever else happens outside of you, which can happen to anybody, then you need structure. You need a proper structure, not just, hey, this is my sales team and it's 2 guys, and this is my marketing team and it's 2 guys. That's not the only structure. There's a lot that goes into it. And hiring and firing, so a lot of founders I see, they hire and fire really quickly, really fast, and they regret it a lot. They burn so many bridges that it's hard to build them up again, right? So if you want to be at a point in your business where you are hiring based on a certain criteria and firing based on a certain criteria, you are able to feel aligned. And also the person who is leaving knows why you fired them. And also the person who is coming in knows why you hired them, right? If they don't know why you hired them or fired them, they're gonna be upset. And this actually devalues your team culture because now your team feels insecure. They're like, hang on, they just kicked this guy out and I don't know why they did it. right? This is why a lot of people don't like HR because they don't know why anybody's getting kicked out, why anybody is staying. There's no benchmarking in the business. There's no way for anybody to know, hey, firstly, where am I going? Where am I at? Where am I going? Where am I at? And am I making progress since when I came in? Because if your team has no idea that, hey, I've entered this company, right, for whatever reason, you likely hired them for their technical skills, right? And they don't know how they're going to progress. Especially if you want a high performing team, they want to know how they're progressing. They don't want to be doing the same thing forever, right? This is not the 80s. Like nobody wants to be software engineer for 30, 40 years. Everybody wants to do something else. This is the world we live in now. So if you don't show them a pipeline or a drawing board of where they're headed, it's very unlikely that they will stay. And it's very unlikely that you build a high performing team because if they don't even know where they're headed, they're not going to perform. That is as simple as that. If they just know, hey, you hired me technically for just this task, and you want your people to go beyond the job, right? Most people that I talk to, they're like, listen, I have a team, but it's very hard to keep motivation up. It's very hard for them to know why they're there, apart from the technical stuff. It's very hard for me to talk to them and tell them, hey, there's more stuff for you here to do. And it's like, yeah, you got to do that in the beginning. That is the structure part of it. That's the structure of why you got hired, where you are headed. You can see growth with us. And if you don't, we will let you go. Like all of these things happen, right? Like there's so many you live in I forgot the guy's name. There was somebody I just saw his video recently. He basically talked about, sorry, it was a podcast. It's called No BS Leadership. I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, he talks about basically letting people go in the most lovable way possible, where they actually feel like they've capped out in your company and they want to grow somewhere else. And that's okay. Like you don't have to make it a ego battle, right? That somebody left your company. You can let them go yourself and be like, listen, I don't have any more opportunity for you at this moment in time. You can either leave right now. I have this person that can really help you in your career, or you can stay and so some people can decide to stay because some people love the company. Maybe they love that you even said that to them as a founder, right? And sometimes they will leave, and that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad founder or make you on your company crap or whatever thought is going through your head. This is just how high performers are. High performers need to know where they're headed. They accelerate through the hoops quite fast. And so if there's no hoop for them to climb, they're probably gonna leave. Maybe that's the next hoop for them. And that's okay. So this is the stuff that No Messerman, as well as um, lots of people are talking about now because it is so relevant. A lot of people are not going into companies anymore. A lot of people are starting their own companies because people are like founders are not understanding that if you want a high performing team, which most people do, again, what is the benchmark for high performance, right? Like, what does that mean to you? Because it means different things to everybody. Some people think it's just technical stuff. Some people think it's the way the departments interact. Some people think it's, hey, we have a feedback culture that's really great. Nobody gets offended. So you need to be clear on what high performance means for you and your team and make that clear to them and make that clear to them in the sense that, of course, high performing is also related to outcome. It's not just about how you feel inside. It's about how many outcomes you can create for your clients or customers or whatever, right? And if you're able to create that with the team that you have, then you can call yourself a high performer. So that is pretty much what I wanted to cover today in terms of lots of people thinking that they're not a startup because of the revenue that they make. And it's like not that simple. You are only not considered a startup if you're not in the middle of every decision. So I want to make that clear. If you are making 8 million, 10 million, whatever you're making a year, but you are still stressed out, like hella stressed out, you're probably a startup. and you're probably not an institution yet. And obviously, that takes time, that takes effort. And usually, that effort is structure, as I said. There should be a clear benchmark for why you're hiring people, why you're firing people, what you're really here for. What are you doing in the cog? Uh, what are you doing as a cog in the wheel, leading cog in the wheel that we talked about? And what is your team doing? And do they know that they are going somewhere with you? Or are they stuck in this role that gets stagnant with time? It's like landing in a lake instead of a river, right? You want your people to land in a river. That means it's always flowing. There's always opportunities to flow. There's always opportunities to grow. Obviously, sometimes that means letting people go, and that's okay. You let them know, hey, look, we would love to have you here. Like, we love what you do. We love the results you've brought us. However, there's no more growth for you here. Just wanted to let you know, right? Like, you don't have to kick him out, but you can let them know that there is no more growth so that they don't, because any high performer you meet, they will get sick of it eventually if they don't have anywhere to go, if they don't have any next level, right? So you talking to them and telling them that, informing them that, hey, this is like the highest level we have for you right now, is doing a lot of like they're gonna respect that. And even if they leave, they're still gonna respect you, which is what you want as a founder. You don't want people leaving your company and talking bad about you. You can't just NDA everything, right? Like you can try. However, the bad taste in people's mouths, it stays for a long time. And you're better off avoiding that and just telling them, hey, you've been great. You've been amazing. I've loved having you here. However, I just want to let you know that there's no more growth for you here. This is what we talked about at the beginning. And you have reached all your KPIs, all your benchmarks, blah, blah, blah. And I just want to let you know that there's nothing here for you anymore in terms of progression, right? Not like, yeah. So they will understand that because they're high performers, as I said. I hope that that's been beneficial and it's explained a little bit about what a startup really is. And that just because you're making a certain amount of revenue doesn't mean you're not a startup, because we tend to think startups are just pre-seed or somebody with a non-proven concept or somebody in a garage like Steve Jobs was when he was starting Amazon, when it's not that clear. It's when you are still a founder in the middle of decisions, when your team cannot make decisions without you, when your team doesn't know where they fit in the organization in terms of not just technical skills, but where they're headed, uh, and where they fit in your vision. So if you're not able to lead your team with the vision in mind, you might be a startup, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with being a startup. It's just the definition is more broad than people think it is. So I hope that that's been beneficial. If you have any questions at all, or you want to know more about this, comment below or DM me on Instagram, and I will make sure to explain more, talk more about something. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for joining.